Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a commentary for you about love versus hate, and no, I'm not talking about my relationship with Black Ops 3. The gameplay you're going to get to see is me and the Hub Stompers pub stomping some people into the ground pretty hard. My performance was good. I called in a couple of power cores. Overall had good gameplay, but what I wanted to talk about was the eternal battle that plays out in our daily lives of love versus hate, positive versus negative, that sort of thing. And most people tend to lean to one side or another. We're not Disney villains, we're not Darth Vader, there's not a light side and a dark side that we all commit one way or to another like an RPG game, but we tend to have our preferences. And I think of love and hate not as set dynamics or personality traits, but rather decisions that people make in tough situations. When, the situation gets tough, instead of the tough get going, people have a decision to make. They can choose a very positive outlook and a very loving sort of approach to it, or a negative and hateful one. And you'd think I would lecture you about one being better than the other or being perfect, but that's not true. Love and hate each work better for completely different situations, and in some situations, hate is significantly more useful than being loving, kind, or forgiving. So let's talk about love first. I see love as a full spectrum of positive emotions: kind, patient, understanding, and doing anything that requires love takes effort. Lots and lots of effort, which is why people kind of shy away from it, but generally speaking, this pays off in the long run. Whether you believe in the golden rule or karmatic systems, or in my case, literally just personal experience, love, forgiveness, kindness, patience, positivity, all this sort of stuff, it tends to win your battles for you in the long run. The short term, it does absolutely nothing except maybe make you feel good about yourself, but when you live a positive life, you put all these vibes out, you work really hard, it does tend to come back around, and you do see changes being made. Hate is sort of a short-term problem solver, and a very effective, very fast one. Violence, malice, sadness, negativity are a huge deterrence for every living creature, especially human beings, because of the way our brains work. Been playing a lot of Overwatch recently, and Zenyatta has an excellent quote, and that is, "Pain is an excellent teacher," and he is completely right. Pain is a massive deterrent, and you can teach others a lesson to leave you alone, to behave, fall in line, or even to obey you if you have to, with hatred, violence, malice, insults, punishment, whatever it is that floats your boat. And the most important thing about hate is it works quick. It is like lightning or fire on your butt. It just gets to working almost immediately. Sadly, though, it does not have the same staying power as love. It basically lasts only as long as human memory. Once people forget about the bad things, or the bad things are so far removed that they don't sort of feel them anymore, or feel that they're likely, they'll go back to the same old behavior. Whereas on the flip side, if you're doing something with love or positivity or inspiring change in that nature, it tends to change people from the inside out, and those changes are not permanent, but they're semi-permanent. They stick for a long time. It's really hard to break a person in a good outlet, in a good mindset, that is. I almost screwed up my words right there. But let me give you some examples that make sense to me. We'll start with the hate examples first, because those are probably a little bit more fun. My wife's father owns a grocery store in a really rundown and dangerous part of town. There's a lot of, say, unseemly characters around here. It can get to be a violent place. It's a little store. It's just him. There's not a whole ton of security, bars on the windows and stuff. And he defends his store with a firearm when needed. If somebody tries to rob his store, he will occasionally pull a firearm on them, and he has fired at people. Thank God he hasn't had to kill anybody yet. But that is a very negative type of deterrent. It isn't about making the neighborhood better. It's about making him look scary. If you try to rob me, I will bust a cap right in your butt, and it works. It works very well. He has to do it once every, 5 years or so, but he'll do it once, and then word gets around the whole rundown neighborhood really quick that this guy will shoot you if you try to rob his store, so let's go somewhere else. But then people forget, and they'll come back and do it again. Another good example was when I was a bully, and I was a bully at one point. I was a huge bully back in grade school. And there was one kid I was pushing around, and I was slapping and making fun of, and I continued on for about a week or two. And at one point, I don't know what happened, but I walked up, and I started pushing this kid, and he turned and popped me right square in the mouth, about as hard as he possibly could. He was a little scrawny kid, so it's not like it hurt me or, disabled me or anything, but it shocked me. It really kind of took me back and shocked me. And like you said, pain is an excellent teacher. I decided that this kid was not worth pushing anymore. I was not going to make fun of him, and it's not that I couldn't beat him up, it's just that he was going to fight for it, and it hurt, and it wasn't worth me fighting him. Another good example of hate is when you put some next level roast on people. Now I do this on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, but it happens with you and your squad in real life too. You and your friends, somebody's talking trash to you, and if you're just sick of it and you don't want to hear it, you burn them right to the core, and they will shut the hell up, and they will not bother you, of course, until they forget about it. And I think the majority of wars are a hatred sort of negative spectrum. It's a conflict over land, over resources or anything. I believe that most of these can be solved through cooperation and sharing, so most violence as well. Now, the examples of love are a little bit different in this example. I'm actually going to call out a specific name here. He doesn't know I'm doing this, but there's a commentator by the name of Horse60, and he ran a show with this guy named Nemesis, and there's a time where he really, really hated me. We're on a talking basis now, and I'm going to get to that, but I was not a popular person on this show. It's one that largely calls out the criticisms and flaws of the Call of Duty games and the hypocrisy of COD commentators and that sort of stuff. But in one instance, they went way overboard and started talking about how fun it would be to, I think it was to kill me, or how they would shoot me or beat me up. It's been so long I don't remember the details, but it was really, really bad, and Keemstar got involved. And I had about a dozen different people tell me how I should do this. I should contact the police. No, you should ignore these people. You should contact YouTube. And I got kind of tired of having people tell me what to do, so I decided to solve it my way, and which is usually the loving, kind, positive sort of way. So I reached out to these people, and I talked to them in person through Skype, which a lot of people said I was crazy for doing, but I took 30 minutes of my time to talk to both of these guys and just kind of remind them that, hey, I'm a real person, and that know that, I don't want to die, and you just sit down and you have a conversation, and everything was fine. They both apologized. They both apologized on their channel, took down the video, the drama with Keemstar went away. We're on a talking basis now. We DM on occasion and stuff, and it worked very, very well, and I think that was a very good approach of love, kindness, patience, forgiveness, all those sort of things, and everything's still great with these people. Similar kind of thing, I said I was a bully when I was a kid. I had a lot of youth pastors work with me. I had a lot of guidance counselors work with me, and I was a terrible kid to work with. They wanted to beat their head against the wall. I probably drove quite a few of them to drinking, and it took a long, long time, a lot of patience, a lot of effort, but it finally worked, and I finally changed over and kind of got my situation together, and now I largely put out positive videos here on YouTube and try to make people's lives better. So I think in the long run it panned out for those people. Same kind of thing in relationships. Now, a lot of you are thinking dating relationships are like marriage, like me and my wife, and that's true, but this also works with friendship. Forgiveness will only make your friendship stronger. When your friend screws you over, when your wife does something, when your significant other, when something kind of goes tits up, you have a choice to lash out, or you can forgive them and work through it, and almost every single time the forgiveness only makes the relationship stronger, and that's a very good example of how love can work very, very well for you in the long run. So this is just something I was thinking about recently, how love and hate, positive and negative, are just dynamics that play out in our decision making, and like I said before, hate very short term, very effective, immediate, but doesn't stick around quite as long. Love takes a lot more work, no immediate results, but tends to work very well in the long run. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this commentary. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.